History bears testament to those who have led a nation. From the early kings that united warring tribes to create some semblance of a nation, to those that have caught the spirit and essence of their people and turned it into the ingredients to forge empires. We have seen those who have risen to lead. Kings, queens, emperors, revolutionaries, generals, presidents and prime ministers. Each has sought to harness the power of a nation and with it govern it. Some seek stability, others glory and conquest, and others wish to make the nation great again. From Julius Caesar to Margaret Thatcher, from Cleopatra to JFK, from Queen Elizabeth to Winston Churchill, and from Wu Zetian to Barack Obama, we have witnessed leaders rise and fall. The great and the greedy, the peaceful and the pugilists, the builders and the bringers of destruction. The world has witnessed many leaders, but what if your favorite YouTubers found themselves installed as a leader of a nation, be it an existing one or a virgin nation state? How would they lead? What would change? What would remain? What would their key policies be? What would be the national anthem? Who would form their cabinet? How would they rule? Well, you are about to find out in HG Tudor's exciting new series, If I Ruled My World, where YouTubers hold the reins of power and you decide if you want them as your leader. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. Welcome to another episode of If I My World. This is where the reins of power are handed to a variety of different people so that you get to understand their perspective on how they would rule a nation. And today I'm joined by the writer, Dr. Julia Friedman, who's going to share with us her vision of her country, whether it's taking over an existing nation on planet Earth or an entirely fictional country of our own devising. We'll soon find out what's in store for you and those citizens. Julia, welcome.
Hello, HG.
Hi, thank you for joining me. Now, in relation to your nation, what's it called?
I think we'll call it Oasis.
Oasis. Okay, so it is a place where one can slake one's thirst in the heat of the day, is it?
It is also in reference to the eponymous band,
Oh, right.
which
Okay. So,
has been in the news.
okay, so we're expecting statues of Liam and Noel dotted throughout this kingdom, or
That
this country, are we? I see. And
that's right. Perhaps with the promise of an art detector on both of them. Yeah,
or maybe trying to get your hands on some tickets to go and listen to Liam Gallagher's completely out of tune voice. Uh, that remains to be seen. I'm pleased to say that I didn't bother. I did see them, as an aside, many years ago when they played at Nebworth, and
hmm
125,000 people there. And I wasn't particularly bothered by it. It was an intimate partner primary source at the time who was more interested, and it was the golden period, so I went along. But anyway, these days I think I'd be more interested in the Oasis drink rather than the band. But that's your country, Oasis. And what's its capital called, Julia?
The capital is Manchester City.
Wow. Already this country sounds very appealing as a consequence of the name of its capital. Presumably, being called Manchester City, it is a fast-flowing, irresistible force of a place that regularly succeeds.
That's right. That's right.
I'd have thought
Yeah.
so. Jolly good.
Rising up in the charts.
Yeah, well, I think I'm already booking a trip to this place. What would your seat of power be?
I think I would have some small museum, something like the Wallace Collection in London or the Frick in New York, some sort of robber baron mansion, but
Okay.
with art in it.
Yes.
And no desk. I mean, no.
No desk.
No desk.
Do you have a seat?
Let's see. I have maybe some version of a mid-century modern recliner.
Okay, a mid-century modern recliner.
Maybe Le Corbusier.
Okay. It might be, you see, those meetings could go on for a long time and you don't want aching feet, so you might want to sit down.
That's right.
A small museum, in keeping, of course, with your interests. Now, the country of Oasis, with its capital of Manchester City, what's its national anthem?
I will go for the Rainbow Connection.
Rainbow Connection.
Would you like me to play it?
Well, so long as it's not going to offend any copyright.
I don't think so. No.
You don't think
no.
so? Okay. Would you want to give me a quick blast of the Rainbow Collection then?
Yes, there we go.
Going on, there's so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide.
Okay, thank you.
So originally from the 1979 The Muppet movie.
Oh, was that Kermit singing?
Yes, it was Kermit, yes. But it's been covered by, there's a version of Kermit singing with Debbie Harry, and there are a couple of versions of Willie Nelson. The Carpenters did one. Gwen Stefani did it. Barbara Streisand, Johnny Mathis, the Dixie Chicks, and Judy Collins.
That's quite an esteemed list of individuals. So what's the significance behind choosing that song for your nation?
It's a proper utopian song. It is about the well, it's obviously the image is the rainbow, but it is about the illusion that unites people, with emphasis on right.
Interesting. Well, that certainly fits with the nation. And with this, the Rainbow Connection is your national anthem. How often would this be played, for instance, every week? Would it be expected at just certain special functions? When would we hear
it? Probably, well, I mean, yes, special functions, but not necessarily the version that I played. It could be any of the covers, any of the multiple covers, so it never gets old.
Ah, well, that's quite a useful way to deal with it, so that it keeps it fresh for everybody. Yeah.
Right, and it's a good sing-along, actually.
Yeah. The Rainbow Connection, okay. I've not come across that before, but
Rainbow Connection. Rainbow Connection.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it was actually, let's see, I pulled it up in 2020, the Library of Congress called it culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. and put it on National Recording Registry. But it was at the top of the charts in 1980. There's about a dozen recordings by different people in 1980.
Well, if Kermit sang it, I suppose, that's really it's seal of approval, isn't it? That Kermit gave it a blast. So, but that fits the idea of the creation of a utopia. So interesting choice. So having fed our ears with the Rainbow Connection, I'll get it right this time. What's going to be feeding the bellies of the citizens of Oasis? What's your national dish?
Well, the bellies are going to be filled with beef Wellington.
Yeah.
And for vegetarian brothers and sisters, beet Wellington.
Okay. So looking to cover both bases there, and beef Wellington, a good solid meal. I can't imagine you get many complaints there. When's the national dish eaten? Is it once a year? Is it every Sunday? Or is it whenever you want?
Whenever you want.
Whenever you want. Okay. What about your national animal, Julia? What's that?
That'll be gray wolf.
Was that grey or great?
No, gray.
A grey wolf.
That's, I mean, it is the official name of the species.
Yes. Well, I'm pleased that you've not gone for a dog. Many people.
I actually originally contemplating of going for a German Shepherd.
Which is sort of wolf, which is wolf-like.
That's right.
Know. Have you ever seen the film Company of Wolves? Neil Jordan film.
I did not.
Okay. Well, it's kind of it basically it's one of the films I rather enjoy. It takes the story of Red Riding Hood and gives it a twist, and it's all about basically a young woman coming of age. So it's sort of like the brush with sex and her body changing and so forth, seen through the wisdom of Granny and her relationship with her elder sister and all the rest of it. So it has like a dreamlike quality, etc. It's really interesting. And part of it is about how men are seen as a threat, that because basically you need to be warier of the ones which are hairier on the inside than they are on the outside, because men basically are just driven by they're base creatures, and they're just driven by these sexual desires, etc. And effectively it then links into them being werewolves as well. So there's lycanthropy involved. So it takes all of these different things and thrown together. It's like a fever dream as well. So it's really interesting. I think it's a very interesting and enjoyable movies. David Warner is in it, who's one of my favorite actors. Anyway,
lovely. I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, there's I remember watching at the time that the lead actress was called Patterson, Sarah Patterson, very attractive, and was in its young role. And it was she only ever had 2 acting roles. She did that film and something else, which was a short film, I believe, and then never acted again. And she was very good in this film, despite her young age. Anyway, in that, for the wolves, they couldn't actually use actual wolves on the set, so they had German Shepherds, which clearly looked like German Shepherds, which kind of took something away from that's showing that they were wolves. So my rather shaggy dog story of getting to the point about that.
I actually wonder where was it filmed?
It was filmed in the UK, I believe. I'm
not
sure.
So there's a house in Brentwood. It's in Los Angeles. There's this annual Halloween party, and one year I was walking by, and it's it's industry people, so it's really quite fancy. And one year I was walking by, and somebody was bringing a wolf, an actual wolf, and I asked to be introduced, and the wolf is it's an actor wolf. And he was about probably to my chest, and I'm 5'6", so he was really quite massive and very lovely.
Yeah, interesting.
Kind of like a lanky husky.
Yeah, I see. Yes. Well, certainly in this film, they didn't actually get any actual wolves. They just had German shepherds. So that's what prompted the memory when you made mention of it. Okay, so the grey
Right.
wolf is the national animal. Now,
Hmm.
we have your flag, which we're able to put on screen, which probably links into your national anthem as well. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your flag.
Well, my flag is the background is Manchester United color, appropriately, and then there's a.
Manchester United.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I do this all the time. Okay, and I'm okay. I'm in the doghouse with my boyfriend. It's of course Manchester City.
Yes. I was going to say there
Okay.
could have been an international incident there, but yes, carry on. So the background is the sky blue of Manchester.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
champions of England. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from that. Yeah, so that's the background, and then the rest of it is the rainbow, which is arranged in a pattern that doesn't evolve any other rainbow associations. So
I see. And the choice of rainbow is because
the song. That's because of the song.
it's purely
Only.
because of the song. Okay.
Purely because of the song.
Okay. So there's the flag. And where will we see this flag? Is it fluttering from every public building? Is it on people's cars? Is it being waved by agents of the state? When do we see this flag?
Well, I mean, I meant for it to be a very beautiful flag.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be on bumper stickers and on the buildings, of course, and on people's plants in front of the front door.
So, okay, so plenty of prominence for the rainbow flag. It certainly isn't going one.
Well,
Please.
I kind of don't want to call it a rainbow flag because there's already a rainbow flag, which is
okay.
not
What
the flag.
what would you call it then?
Oh, it's just the flag. Well, I mean, it's the flag of Oasis.
So the Oasis flag would be
right.
No problem at all. Okay. What about your national motto, Julia? What's that?
I think this is where we're going to go Oasis. I'm going to do Live Forever.
Okay, so that fits in neatly with that. So does that mean, therefore, that your citizens are going to be kept alive as long as possible by your health service?
Yes, actually, that's part of the plan.
That's part of the plan. Okay, so
and not just alive, but in good health and active.
Okay, so that they can carry on working to pay for their own healthcare, presumably.
That's right.
Rather than be a burden to the state. Okay.
Well, they're taxed and the state pays for the healthcare.
Yes, absolutely. Tax them, make them bleed. Now,
that's right.
Yeah. What about your national day? What's it called, and on what date would it be?
It's not called anything. It's a national day, and I think I'll have it on my birthday, which is July 14, which also happens to be Bastille Day, which is the French national holiday.
Yeah.
So this way, the creator of Utopia would be happy to hear we can piss off the French.
Yes.
And have a holiday in the middle of the summer.
There we are. So stick 2 fingers up at the French, have a day off in the summer as well. So hopefully the weather would be good also. And it's just simply the national day.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, what about monetary matters? What's your currency called?
I think Asian dollar, probably. Or Asian pound. No, Asian pound.
Asian pound. Yeah. Makes sense. And let's say that the lowest denomination is 5 of these pounds. Who or what appears on that note?
Well, I think we would probably have to go with the famous citizens of Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have Morrissey.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably have to have the Oasis blokes.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to help me because I've
Well, you
never
could have,
been.
I suppose, on your highest denomination note, Pep Guardiola would be a good choice. I know he's not a Mancunian, but he's inextricably linked with the success of Manchester City. You could have that.
Okay,
But you've got plenty of famous Mancunians to
right.
choose from if that's the sort of idea behind it.
Yeah. No, I mean, if we do go for the humans, otherwise we can have wolves.
Well, yeah, you can pick wolves if you wanted. Would you want a wolf on the highest denomination note instead?
Probably, actually, yeah. So it's
Okay.
not to, right.
Okay, so Morrissey appears on the lowest note.
No, not the lowest note.
No, well, that's what I was asking. The lowest denomination.
Okay. I missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm, yeah. No, we can't have Morrissey in the lowest
Can't have Morrissey
denomination.
there. Okay, he gets a mid-ranking note instead. Who's going to be on the lowest denomination note?
Good Lord. I think I'm gonna go. I mean, it's a diss essentially, right? If it's the lowest
Well,
denomination.
not necessarily, because you could argue that that's in greater circulation. Lots of people use it, so you'll be seen a lot more.
I don't know. This is. I have to think about it.
I mean, if you're thinking about Manchester, some might argue that you'd have a B, because that's a symbol of the worker ethic, and the B is heavily associated with with Manchester. It would appear on the Boddington's Brewery had a B as part of its emblem, and when there was the Manchester Arena bombing, many people went out and had B tattoos as a symbol of solidarity to demonstrate that the city wouldn't bow in the face of terrorism. So possibly a B might be a good choice.
Maybe a B then.
Maybe a B. Okay. Now we're going to turn to some of your policies, Julia. And so I'm going to provide you with a range of choices, and you have to select the one which is closest to what you'd want. Okay, you have to pick something though. So addressing your foreign policy. Your foreign policy is either defending Oasis, and that's all that matters, or you will defend Oasis, but you'll aid allied nations as well, or you will adopt a more proactive role as the world's policeman, or you're going to go for an expansionist approach. So there might be some historical territories that Oasis can lay claim to, and now, with you as leader, you decide it's time to revisit the former glories of Oasis, and you're going to go and capture some of those historical territories. Or you decide not only are we going to go for former glories, but we're going to get ourselves some natural resources as well. So we're going to go and invade that country because they've got some rather good gold mines and they've got some oil fields, etc. Or your stance might simply be this: you've looked at me funny, so I'm going to invade you. What's the foreign policy of Oasis?
Defense only.
Defense only. Okay. Nuclear missiles. Is it the case that you don't have any? Or do you have them simply as a deterrent? You'll never use them, but you don't make that known. Or if somebody uses them against you, you will unleash the nuclear weapons. Or is your attitude, I've got an itchy trigger finger here, it's nuking time?
None.
No nuclear weapons. Okay, that was very firmly stated. Addressing the question of press freedom. No state interference, or interference on the grounds of national security only, or whatever you as leader deem sensitive results in interference, so quite a wide remit there. Or do you make sure that the media is state-owned?
No state interference.
No state interference. Okay. Religious tolerance. Complete freedom of worship and expression, or freedom of worship unless you're being provocative towards others, or it's Oasis's existing indigenous religion, but others are secretly tolerated, or it's your indigenous religion only, there's no tolerance of anything else, and indeed you persecute the heathens and the heretics, take them down, burn them. Or is your stance, you worship me and only me, remember?
Freedom and less provocative.
Okay, complete freedom of worship and less provocative to others. Question of equality now. Minorities are actively supported, they are protected, and they gain positive discrimination. Or minorities are protected by anti-discrimination legislation. Or we promote ability, we don't fill quotas. Or minority issues are ignored after all. Who wants to pander to the minorities? It's the majority that matters. They're the ones that you need to keep happy. Or actually, those pesky minorities are actively persecuted. After all, they're just crybaby nuisances.
Well, of the choices you gave,
Yep.
I would go. I would kind of be in between promoting ability and, well, the way you phrased it, minority issues are ignored. If you look at it from the standpoint of the majority matters,
Yes.
so it's a question of framing.
So what we're suggesting is that these minority issues basically are an unnecessary diversion from getting on with the good governance of the country. That it's pandering to people who perhaps ought to really get a grip and go with the flow.
I think that's definitely the case in the UK now, isn't it?
Okay.
So equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome.
Yep. Okay.
So not filling quotas, but when you said it, I was just thinking when you said it, majority matters. I think that's a pretty accurate.
Okay, so essentially, so majority matters, so minority issues are ignored. Right. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's say for the ticking it off sake, let's say not fill quotas.
All right. Okay. So you're going down a notch to promote ability, not fill quotas.
Right.
Okay. Those are some of the policies. We'll be going to address your flagship policies in due course. But before we get to that, we need to form a short form cabinet. And 5 positions have been identified. They can be filled with people who exist or fictional individuals, if you so wish. Who are you going to select as your defense chief? Who's going to be in charge of defending Oasis?
I'm actually going to be an original here and give it to you.
Yes.
I can't remember who else did it.
No, off the top of my head, I don't recall either. Although I know that I was offered the position previously. So
it is going to matter because it will come up later on probably. But yeah, I think you would be actually quite perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Would you like?
What qualities do you think it is that I have that make me ideal for defending? Just throw me some love.
Well, factually, you're a narcissistic psychopath, so you have an absolutely perfect personality for that. You're obviously very, very smart, and you have, I believe, you have military education, if not background. And I also think, and I'm guessing from sort of the peripheral data, I think your business has to do with things military, although not weapons per se, perhaps some technology or something. So I think you're already kind of in the field, so to say, and we're literally in the field a while ago.
Okay, well, if that's accurate,
judging by the recording quality. Yeah, so if that's accurate.
If that's accurate, and naturally I can neither confirm nor deny, but if that is accurate, then those are certainly sound choices as to making me defense chief. Now, given what I am, I'm chomping at the bit to further the interests of Oasis. Although I note that your foreign policy was defense only, I'm bristling, I'm itching to turn my brief into defense and attack chief, and straining at the leash to go and invade somebody. Will you take my advice in that regard, or do I get a smack across the knuckles and told to get back in my box?
Well, no, I know better than to even think of smacking you. I don't know. I mean, that is against the policy, and the policy is dictated not by the goodness of my heart, but by practical considerations. I pretty much think that the Swiss got it right.
Okay.
So
That's your stance. That's fair enough. Okay. Well, I can certainly say that you're off to a flying start with regard to your choice of advisors in relation to your cabinet, naturally. Who is your foreign secretary?
My foreign secretary is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Okay. What's the thought process behind that?
Well, he's able to make anybody talk. He listens well. He's able to make anybody smoke a spliff with him, even people who don't usually do it. I think he's the most brilliant interviewer, and I mean, if we could raise Talleyrand from the dead, I would have him probably, but Joe Rogan, I think, would be actually quite good because he's the man of today's culture, and he can do long form interviews.
Okay. Well,
there's good stamina.
Yeah, some sound reasons for placing him as foreign secretary. So that's a solid choice. What about the chief scientific officer?
This one I'm going to split between Eric Weinstein and Ian McGilchrist. Okay. Eric Weinstein is a theoretical. Well, they're both scientists, but also public figures. So Eric Weinstein, one of the Weinstein brothers, is I think he's a mathematician actually by education, but he's essentially a theoretical physicist. And he's a brilliant man, and he knows his science, but he also understands politics quite well. And he's one of his sort of scientific contribution is he came up with the theory of everything. Literally, this is so it was called geometric unity, and it's been challenged, but it's a legitimate approach to not just physics, but to how the universe works. And Ian McGilchrist is actually your compatriot. He is an absolutely brilliant writer, literary scholar, psychiatrist, who wrote 2 books about how the 2 hemispheres of the brains correspond to the 2 approaches to life, essentially. So he calls it hemispheric modality, but it's about the left hemisphere that is in charge of grabbing and specific functions, and the right one, which gives the context. And without the right one being in charge, we get politically and culturally to where we are today. So I think those 2 gentlemen would be very good for the chief scientific officer seat.
Packing a lot of ability into that position, I would suggest, with those 2 individuals. So particularly sound choices. We turn now to the question of the purse strings. Who would be Chancellor of the Exchequer, Treasury Secretary?
So following the meritocratic model here, yes. I'll go for Peter Thiel.
Okay, Peter Thiel.
Yes. Okay. So he's he's a venture capitalist. He has a JD from Stanford, and he worked. He worked as a securities lawyer. He was a derivatives trader, and founded half a dozen companies, financial companies, and so he's very, very good, not just at bean counting, but at understanding the larger picture and making sure things are done.
Yes.
With correct intentions.
Sounds like a safe pair of capable hands for that position. And finally, to complete this short form cabinet, who's Minister for Fun?
Okay, so here I'm going to go with the YouTuber
Okay.
who goes by the name River.
Okay.
River has a channel, which I'm pretty sure many of your listeners and viewers know and like and watch. River is an amazing individual. He's, I mean, I'm sure he's quite a bit of fun in physical settings, but he's also, he really strikes me, he's young, maybe around 30 years old, if that, but extremely interesting person, very humane, and he understands kind of the, you know, precious things in life and appreciates little things that actually make the fun. So it's not fun in the, you know, let's go get drunk or high or something kind of fun, but just being alive. And I think it's kind of a dying species now.
Okay. So River as Minister for Fun. Let's turn to international relations. Which country would be your major ally?
So here I'm going to stay entirely fictional,
Right.
to avoid international incidents. My ally is going to be Utopia.
Okay. And when you say that, are you talking about Trevor Colt's country?
That's right.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear that. Why have you selected Trevor's creation, which is basically based on Australia and fearsome chimpanzees?
Well, okay, the chimpanzees was kind of a nice touch. It's sort of a dangling threat, but he wasn't menacing in regards to his citizens. He didn't want them to sleep in the dirt or be underfed and sexually exploited. His policies were good, and I mean, hell, he picked Douglas Murray for his defense chief, I think.
Yeah, so that resonated with you.
Yeah, we like Douglas Murray.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's, I think he's mostly good. Right.
So there's much to like about Utopia. So you see them as being an ally. All right. Who would be the main enemy of Oasis?
Well, if I have to, I should say if I have to pick one ally, because the other ally would be Jen's country. I forgot what was it. Jen.
Jen's country, Britannifa.
That's it, Britannifa.
Okay, right.
But you suggest for one.
Right? I mean, of course you could have more than one ally, but we're looking at the major ally. So the major ally would be Utopia, with its attack chimpanzees. Okay, and which country would be your main enemy then?
You know, I would go for Gasser.
Okay, you go for Gasser, not Blur. So there wouldn't be an Oasis Blur standoff. It would be Gasser. Why Gasser? Which, of course, is the Duchess of Narcissist's country.
Well, nothing against the founder, of course. No, just some of the policies and the idea of guessing. I don't like that.
Okay, so you just take issue with that particular policy of theirs, and that puts them in your sights as an enemy. Okay. Is there a particular group that wouldn't be welcome in your country?
No.
No? Everybody's welcome.
Well, not a group. Not a group. So usual, you know, entry laws, which have to do with criminality and maybe, I don't know, maybe hard drugs, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe not that.
You wouldn't select a particular group and say, unclean, they're not coming in.
No, of course not.
All right. Okay. Now we're going to turn to your 5 foundation policies, Julia. So give me your first policy, please.
So the first one is going to have to do with education. And it's more sort of like a bundle of policies. So we're going to start with good early childhood education, and school starts at 7, not 5. And we have 10 years of very solid curriculum, followed by a gap year with mandatory public service, some sort of Peace Corps. And as part of the curriculum, there is civic education. And after the 8th year, I'm literally ripping off things that already exist here and not inventing anything.
Well, no, I mean that's often the way that people do things. So there's a very much Blairite education approach here. It might not be exactly what it is,
it's
but a huge emphasis on it.
Yes, I mean yeah. So kind of a Finnish model up until maybe through grade school, and then it gets serious. And but then also to have solid vocational options if people want to pursue something else in the last couple of years and still graduate and be happy. And then I would completely reconfigure the universities from what it is now, completely eliminate any department that has the word studies in it, shrink the studies, any sort of studies.
Okay.
So we'll have subjects, but
yes.
And shrink the administration, and everything is going to be merit based. And I will put David Starkey, who is a Tudor historian, I'm sure you know. Yes. He'll be in charge of my education
so he'll be the
department.
Education minister. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll make a lot of he'll make a lot of jokes that will upset a lot of people and get away with that.
Very good. So you're going to adopt the Whitney Houston school of thought that I believe that children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Very good. But it's comprehensive packaged there for that first policy in relation to education. Much that has been thought out there. So the children oasis, they have much to look forward to the extent that any child looks forward to being educated. But nevertheless, what strikes one as a solid foundation there. What about policy number 2, Julia?
The second one would have to do with culture. So state support for the arts, kind of, Soviet style. I grew up in the Soviet Union, and there were a lot of really horrible things about the place when I was growing up, but the arts were supported and organized really well. And so there was opera, there's theater, ballet, and it was all highly accessible. So very solid art programs, not entertainment, but really, again, merit-based solid stuff. And I'll put Stephen Fry in charge of the Department of Culture.
Okay. Expanding this cabinet here.
Well, I can't possibly be limited to 5.
Well, we do so for the sake of brevity and not going through a cabinet of 30 or so people, but you're very welcome to throw in your suggestions with your policies. It's absolutely fine. Thank you very much. Policy number 3, please.
Ditto, state support for national parks. And my country is mountainous, and it has beaches as well for people who like that sort of stuff. So we have national parks, beaches, and ski resorts.
Yeah.
And whom I would like to put in charge of that?
Tell me.
Prince Harry.
Okay, so Prince Harry would be Minister for Parks.
Yes, because that might be kind of a good rehabilitation program for him. And I think he does. We know for a fact that he's a good skier. He wanted to be a ski instructor when he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. His father thwarted that. We have, he would probably be interested in national parks as well. So
popping him on getting him in the great outdoors and involved in national parks, etc., probably is more his bag than telling people about mental health and going around pretending to be a celebrity. Okay.
Completely unqualified, yeah.
Yeah, well, you might well be responsible for the rehabilitation even of the Prince of Pink Pancakes. Okay. Policy number 4.
Okay. My fourth one is health ministry, which makes sure that the citizens are healthy, live for a long time, and they're active. So the health ministry has the emphasis on research and prevention. And I'm putting Andrew Huberman in charge of that. And Huberman, you probably know, he has Huberman Lab podcast, which is a fantastic resource. And he goes through scientific papers to answer people's questions. And he's quite highly qualified. He's a professor of neurobiology at Stanford. So
okay. So healthy citizens is an emphasis. So you're going to ensure that they're chased around your national parks with people with electric cattle prods to keep them fit?
No. Nobody's chasing anybody. No, nobody's taking
all right.
people's
just
food.
Throwing that in there as your defence chief, as maybe perhaps seeing that we have a fit populace that's there ready to defend the good nation of Oasis.
Well, that's right. No, actually, that's an important point, and as you probably know, the U.S. Army has a problem with that. So, yeah. Yes. So you'll have good soldiers.
Good. I expect so. I want them with their. I want steely-eyed dealers of death under my command. So excellent. And policy number 5.
Okay, so that's the whole cluster, which has to do with animal welfare.
Okay.
Because animals are very important, and you can pretty much judge a society by how they treat animals. So here's what I would do. So first of all, so in charge of my animal welfare department, I'm going to put Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
As because he's not just a comedian, but he's a very, very committed animal rights advocate. And the policies are going to be pretty much the repeat of what the Swiss do. So the highlights there would be to honor the social nature of animals, make sure they have companionship. Dogs in Switzerland they're entitled to daily doses of fresh air and nature. So that's where my parks come in handy too.
Yes,
and then there's like an important one, which actually I'm sure the Sidley twins are going to like that. Mandated educational programs for dog owners. Okay. If you are going to have a dog, you have to take a course in how to treat the dog.
Yes, I'm sure they can do that.
Then regulations that with animals that are not, pets, dogs and cats, make sure that there's species appropriate space arrangements, and that goes into completely forbidding any sort of industrial farming. So all the farming is done in a way that allows the animals to live naturally. And then finally, legal advocacy for animals. So animals can be represented in court. And that goes, so this is a Swiss law, and then there's a German law, which is zero tolerance for animal cruelty. So I think that might kind of get us halfway to where we want to be with animals.
Okay, with Ricky at the helm. Interestingly, I think he is the individual, and you've expanded your cabinet, and since you're the leader, you're allowed to do so. I think Ricky Gervais has been the individual who has appeared most in people's cabinets so far. I think this is the 3rd time that he's made an appearance. So
he did. Actually, I missed that.
I think I'm fairly certain that he's appeared in at least 2 other countries' cabinets. Fairly certain as Minister for Fun, but you have him as sort of Minister for Animal Rights and Welfare. So, yeah.
See, I missed that, but I actually I would like to know who has you in their cabinet as the Minister of Defense, because if it's either Utopia or Gasser, no, it's not Utopia because he wants Douglas Murray, but say if it were Gasser, we would have a problem.
Well, you know, I'm quite happy to be in the pay of two organisations at once. I have. There's no problem with me having two masters. I've done that more than once, believe me, because ultimately I'm only master to myself. So my loyalty is only to me. And
yeah, but how would you
the highest
square?
bidder.
So, no, I understand. That is a given. But how would you square this circle of one country having the policy of invasion and the other one being neutral?
Well, basically, I would ensure that I was backing both sides, so that I could ensure that I was providing my services to both sides, and then one will ultimately win, and then I would choose that. So by having an involvement on both sides, I'm going to come out smiling and smelling of roses, because one side's going to be the victor. So if I see that it's going a particular way, I might suddenly make myself scarce in a particular country, explaining that I have some pressing business to attend to elsewhere. So that yeah, highest bidder and who's got the best weapons, of course, would certainly appeal to me. And there's an expansionist policy that would also fit rather nicely with my mindset. But for the purposes of this exercise, none of the countries are necessarily going to be pitted against one another. But yes, it raises an interesting question as to what would happen if two nations wanted to involve. I mean, of course, there's nothing that's going to stop one being, in effect, a double agent. So you went for, of course, in your cabinet, a lot sort of very much merit-based. We didn't see the nepotism that's been witnessed in other cabinets so far, of sticking in family members or in a sense, sticking in members of the royal family. So to be lauded for your merit-based approach. Well, Julia, thank you very much for sharing your observations about the nation of Oasis. And valuable viewers, is Oasis a country that appeals to you? First of all, the fact that its capital is Manchester City must already have you packing your bags and making sure that your passport is up to date. You can gorge on beef Wellington if you are a carnivore, and you can pay homage to the grey wolf beneath the Oasis flag, having the National Day on July the 14th. You can spend your Oasian pound with possibly a bee or a wolf on those notes. There are sound policies in place, well thought out and expansive with regard to education and culture, national parks, even getting Harry involved in a meaningful way. Might the nation of Oasis prove to be the one thing that actually saves old Fanta pubes? There's a merit-based cabinet that has been formed, also involving people who are very much capable and up to the job. So if the nation of Oasis is a country that gets your buy-in, you can, in the community section, cast your vote to state, yeah, that sounds like a utopia to me. Indeed, it's a country that allies with Trevor Cult's utopia. So you might think much to enjoy. Then again, you might think not quite to my liking, and if so, you can express that view. But a carefully thought out nation, and I'll be most interested to see what people's reactions are to it. So Julia, all that remains is to thank you for your well-considered input in relation to the creation of your nation.
Thank you, HG. It was a pleasure as always.
Jolly good.